following announcement has been paid for by the Wrestling Epicenter.
Hey, everybody.
Hey, guys.
Hello, ladies. Remember me? Let me talk to you, dummies.
It's now time
It's beer time. TikTok.
It's showtime!
for the longest running wrestling talk show in history.
We are huge. It's gonna be cool.
You're where it's at.
You smell like me.
Tune in each and every week.
You better keep listening, or I'll come out of your computer
And turn it on for you.
or else I'm gonna kick your stinking teeth in.
We've been known by a few names.
The needs of the many far outweigh the needs of the few.
The Interactive Interview,
Interactive interview. Oh, yeah.
Interactive interview.
The interactive interview. Interactive interview. The interactive interview.
Interactive Wrestling Radio,
Interactive wrestling radio.
Interactive Wrestling Radio.
Interactive radio.
Interactive wrestling radio.
Interactive wrestling radio.
The Blaze,
Blaze 1260 AM.
The Blaze.
The Blaze.
Blaze. The Blaze Rock.
and a lot of other names.
Weekend Warrior of Wrestling. The Pile Driver. The
Epicenter.
3-count wrestling. The Hours Slam.
But it's all one show, the Wrestling Epicenter.
Wrestling Epicenter. The Wrestling Epicenter.
The Epicenter.
Wrestling Epicenter, dude.
The Wrestling Epicenter. Don't get off.
And your host from day one,
By ignorance or arrogance.
James Walsh.
Wake up, sleepyheads.
Dr. Carol House.
It all starts
What a rush. Oh, Boomer Sooner.
Thank you very much.
I got 2 words for you. Thumbs down. Breaking necks and cashing checks. Burn. I've heard a lot about you guys.
Check it out. Get out of my face. You win!
But I'm desperately out of time!
So what you gonna do when Blaze-a-mania runs wild on you?
now.
Welcome back to Interactive Wrestling Radio. Joining us on the Newsmaker line is a musician that wrestling fans will be familiar with when we delve into that in a little bit. But let's talk to him. He is from the Ian Abel Band. He is Ian Abel. Are you with me, sir?
Yes, sir. Hey, how's it going?
I'm doing great. How about yourself? Are we you ready to have some fun and talk a little wrestling?
You know it. Let's do it.
All right. So let's start out with the obligatory elephant in the room. You got to start with this when you talk to any musician, and that is, how are you coping with the awkward times that we're in without being able to perform live shows to the magnitude that we're used to?
It's pretty awful, to be honest and flat out about it. So at the start of the pandemic, I was living in Los Angeles, and I've since relocated to Nashville. But I've been picking up a lot of, back to just doing side, I've always done side gigs here and there as I'm building the music and the fan base up. But now, like, currently I'm sitting in a hotel room in Norfolk, Virginia, because I'm working on some Navy ships.
Oh, wow.
Because there's no shows. And as soon as live streaming started to become like a thing, I mean, like the first week, Keith Urban, I remember he did a live stream, and I was like, well, great, that's out the window. Like, Keith Urban and the A-listers and people are doing it, like, there's no way I'm going to be able to, like, jump into this immediately and take it over. So it's been bad, but it's been worse. I've been blessed to be able to have, been able to make an income, and we still put out music during it, which has been difficult. But I just feel a lot of my friends that are not able to be on tours, that are even people that I know that, drive tour buses. A lot of people are just really affected by it. It's awful, and I feel for them.
One of the musicians that I interviewed a while back, he said that this is the worst thing that ever happened to music since the early days of Napster, when people stopped buying records. And probably worse than that, I would say.
Yeah, because, even when people, because we've seen it too, besides the most recent song we were able to have featured on AEW, which obviously we'll get to, we put out 2 other songs before this, 1 or 2 pretty much back to back real quick, and it's some about putting out new music right now. People are excited. Like, I'm excited when Chris Stapleton put out a new record, and people like that. Or I know another band, Hiatus Coyote from Australia. They're about to put something out that I'm excited for. But at the same time, it feels, I don't feel full when I listen to it because I know, God, I might not see this being played live for like another year and a half.
Yep.
So it's the morale towards music, even new music being put out is down, which is tragic. At least during Napster, you could steal the song but you go see the show. So even if you're not getting the revenue you should be getting, you're playing, you're selling shirts, you're playing to people and they're singing it, and you get that interaction. And that's really what we do it for. All artists and entertainers, you do it for the crowd.
Very cool, very cool. And a gentleman that I mentioned off air, Tom George, suggested we do this interview because he knows I'm a big music buff and a big wrestling buff, so I thought that would be a perfect fit. And you got a little bit of a break by having one of your songs put forth in a very touching, a very emotional video package before a very touching and emotional match. And that was at Double or Nothing, AEW's pay-per-view from 2019, and the build-up to Cody Rhodes against Dustin Rhodes, which was really, really an emotional match, and the whole thing was just really well put together, and your song was certainly a big part of that. How did you get that opportunity?
Yeah, it was break might be an understatement. I'm a wrestling fan as well. Obviously, being from Louisville, Kentucky, we had Ohio OVW, and so growing up, watching wrestling's always been something that I've been interested in, and I've followed it, and I knew AEW was coming about. I saw All In, right? And I was like, man, this is incredible. And then you hear the rumors, and you start reading the dirt sheets, and you're like, oh my God, they're actually forming a company. And I just, offhand one day, I was working just another side gig in LA, this awful job, and on my lunch break, I sent an email to Brandy. I knew she was the branding officer, and I was like, there's no way I'm going to get in touch with anyone else. I knew, I didn't know her personally, but following Cody and her and everyone, I was like, okay, she seems really cool. And I got a hold of her email, and I sent her our first single that we put out that was getting some good plays and getting some good traction, and within like 10 minutes she had written me back and was saying that her husband Cody was looking for a song, and he actually was looking for something that was similar. I want to say it was not Left 4 Dead, Red Dead Redemption. There was a song I think he heard on that game, and I guess they heard the way I played and sounded, and they're like, maybe you have something where you could write something. And I was like, this was a Friday. I said, I got you. I went in the studio that weekend, sent them a couple of different things. And they really kept me, they treated me like mushrooms. They fed me just, some shit, kept me in the dark, understandably. They didn't know who I was.
Right.
And so we would talk on the phone here and there, but I had no clue. I just knew it was a match. I had no clue that it was going to be, maybe a match of the century.
Right.
So,
it sure was.
It was incredible.
Yeah, it was cool at the end of that match when they cut to the announcers, and you got Shivani and you got Jim Ross, and they both have tears in their eyes, and they're trying to continue on, and it's like, that they got them. That was just an emotional match. And like I said, your song was a big part of that. It was a great part of the build.
Yeah, it was. When they first, I spoke to Cody a little bit, spoke to Brandy a decent amount, and I talked to Michael Kulari a good amount. He was really instrumental in helping get that together, and he sent me a text right as they dropped like the promo on YouTube, and it just said congrats. And then I was kind of naive, still probably am, to be frank, and I spent the rest of that Saturday trying to play catch up on all the different sites that I'd put music out as like a teenager, just putting things up back in the day that I'd forgotten about. Like I'd forgotten I had a Reverb Nation account, and I had to go because people were finding that, and they're like, is this the guy? And I was like trying to take things down and funnel them to like our Spotify and YouTube channel. It was a hectic day, but like a glorious one.
Awesome, awesome. And you have had one more song, and I watched a few interviews that you've done to kind of familiarize myself going into this one, and I heard you kind of say it was a relief when they finally used it, but they used it for Cody and Darby Allin. Why was it a relief that they finally used it, as you put it?
Okay, so the song we used for the brother versus brother match at Double or Nothing, that was a song I'd written when I was 19. I just held on to it forever for some reason. And I sent him that one, and he said he liked it. And, that was the follow-up email. See, the one that we did with Darby Allin, Not Afraid to Die, the most recent release, that's actually the one I went in that weekend on a Saturday, went in with a couple, producer John Graber, my good friend, and I wrote that and recorded it that day. So that song specifically was in my mind for Cody. And I thought it was I still think it's a great song, and I think it could be used for a lot of different avenues. But my original intention was to try to capture his, Cody's a bit of a trailblazer in his own right. He's really taken a lot of what his brother and father did, and he's kind of elevated to a whole new level now. And so I wanted to capture that spirit in the song, and I was glad and relieved that he was able to use it for a promo for himself again, because that was the original intention.
Beautiful, beautiful. Have you had any talks recently about maybe doing more music for them?
Spoken, I try. It's always a fine line because they're so busy, but they are such amazing people. They really are as gracious as you would expect. Before this all started, I was in Nashville before moving there for the CMA week, I think, and just going to different events, playing here and there, songwriting, etc. And AEW was in Nashville, and I wrote them and I said, hey, I'm in town, and no questions asked. They had tickets waiting for me and my dad at the door. My dad drove down because he's a big fan. They had us back there. Got to meet everybody, which was so cool. Like getting to talk to Jim Ross and Jericho. Lost my mind. But so I try not to I don't want to say bug them, but they are remarkably busy. I don't want to send them an email or text all the time like, hey guys, it's Tuesday. Here's a new song I wrote, But I do I keep up with them decently, in a respectful manner, as well as the person who did who put the package together, the video editor. He's a wrestler and he goes by Sunny Days, and I met him backstage in Nashville, and he got goosebumps talking about the original promo and the video they did and the song together. And I saw it on his arms, which is, it's my song. It's incredible. And so I still keep up in touch with him a lot as well. And he's always trying to find ways when they're coming up with video packages to work a song or two in. And because I've got other music out, like he's trying to work a song called Outlaw in. And if it doesn't work, that's fine. I'm not heartbroken over it, but it's just to know that I've been able to build a rapport with people that I respect and know that we'll continue to work together in the future it's awesome. I don't know if that answered the question, but
it sure did. Absolutely. They've been using more, I don't want to say mainstream, but more almost classic material lately. They used an old Cinderella song for Kenny Omega recently, and then they used a song for Jungle Boy as his actual theme song, a Baltimore song, which is, really out of left field to pull an 80s pop song out of nowhere. What do you think of, them using that as opposed to using it as an avenue to get people to find new musicians like yourself?
I think they. I don't think toe the line would be correct, but I think they walk that line just fine. I mean, going from using a lot of times, I would assume that it would be the wrestler's choice, given my history of working with them. It's probably they said they're like, yo, I love this song, go use that, I think they do a great job with both, and it's their company. They're allowed to do whatever they like, and they've given me an opportunity. They've given me a platform twice. So, I have no complaints, and And also I think it's great because they do that as well with up and coming wrestlers, people who are still super green, but they give them a lot of time on AEW Dark.
Yep.
So I think they do. I really do. I think they do a brilliant job with allowing people to hear new music that they like or have discovered, and also playing some of the stuff that they love.
Have you ever thought about maybe doing something with Mikey Ruckus, who does their entrance music, their entrance themes?
That would be sick. I've never reached out to Mikey. I probably now I should just to at least say hey, 'cause I'm a fan of Mikey Ruckus, and I've grown to be a fan. There's a Spotify playlist, the biggest AEW one. The guy who curates that, Sean Hansa, he's become a friend now because he adds my music to it, and we talk. He's a really cool guy. He's in Arizona, but Mikey actually signed and autographed an album for him and sent it to him just because he's got the playlist, and because of this guy's just a fan's dedication. Awesome. So I'm thinking meeting Mikey would be sick.
Awesome. All right, so I got to tell you, as you probably have deduced from the things I've said, the LA music scene is kind of where I peaked. That's my interest. That was always what I loved. And in a prior interview, yeah. So with your interview a few months ago, I heard you say that a lot of those places are starting to close, and I didn't know if you meant because of COVID and they'd be back open, or are we going to lose, the Troubadour, which I know you headlined, and places like that because of all this stuff?
I hope not. We already have lost a lot of them. I say we because I still very much feel in tune to the LA music scene. We lost the Satellite is no longer a venue. Satellite was huge for up and coming indie bands. I think Beck came out of there when no one would give Beck a shot.
Wow.
So we lost Satellite. I think the Troubadour has sustained and made it through. I believe the Roxy and oh my God, I'm forgetting the Whiskey Go-Go.
Yeah.
I think those will be fine. The Viper Room, I'm sure they probably have secret backing from Flea or somebody. So I'm sure those will survive. But I believe COVID really did a number on venues across the country. I have a friend, the Machinist Brothers, really cool name. They're two twins and they're great musicians. They've got a venue in Austin, and they've survived, but they have been just absolutely kicked in the. Am I allowed to cuss?
Yeah, you're allowed to curse.
Okay, cool. They've been kicked in the ass from COVID because they haven't been able to have any shows, and the way their venue's set up, it's not like they can do outdoor, shows.
Right.
So it's sad. I'm glad to see the ones that have survived. Now the kicker is I hope that those venues that I had connections to and knew the bookers, I hope the bookers survived and didn't get up and move cities and not tell me.
There you go. Is the music scene, because I know a lot of those LA guys, I'm from, my fandom is 80s metal, and that of course was the scene, the Sunset Strip. A lot of those guys have done what you've done and up and left ship and left and gone to Vegas or to Nashville. Is the Nashville scene better than the LA scene right now?
I guess it'd have to be because there's shows and things going on. They're very different, and there will never be a scene probably as vibrant and awesome as that 80s metal scene, and you hear people talking about, so the guy who does my pedal boards, and his name's Dave Phillips with LA Sound Design, incredible wealth of knowledge, but he came up, he's actually from Louisville, moved right out of high school to LA, and he was, just listening to him tell stories about how he and his buddy walked in and saw Van Halen before anyone knew who Van Halen was. And there will never be a scene to top that. But in the current scenario, I think there's parts in Nashville that it's hard to, as long as they last and don't get gentrified, there's parts of Nashville that are almost impossible to recreate. The Bluebird before the show Nashville was incredible. It's still great. But it's now you have a line of people trying to get in because they saw the TV show Nashville. So as long as we can continue to not have things happen like that, I think it currently is better.
Awesome. So we've talked a little bit about your music. Let's kind of paint a picture for people. If they didn't just hear those 2 songs on AEW, how would you describe your music? Would I kind of hear more of like a country rock from you? Am I reading you right from what I hear?
Yeah, I don't think I can escape my accent. So it's definitely going to be that southern twang to it. I like to think of it as if like Kirk Hammett and the '86 Metallica got in a fist fight with Leonard Skinner.
I like that. That's good.
That's kind of we don't quite get as heavy and as as the gods of rock Metallica, but there's a lot of big guitars. There's a lot of big choruses. There's a lot of harmonized guitars, and we definitely have the southern like songwriting style. It's really weird because my favorite band's Pink Floyd, and I don't write anything that sounds like Pink Floyd.
There you go. That would be interesting to hear how you would sound if you did do kind of more artsy feel to it.
I'll give it a shot. If it doesn't work out, I'm coming for you, Jay.
All right. Well, we'll close up with just a couple of softballs for you. For people that want to hear some of your music, where can they go to find it?
So we're all socials are at Ian Abel Band, IANABEL Band. Every social, even TikTok, all of it's through there, and we're on all platforms: Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music. And we're also opening up. We just got approved for a merch store with Below the Collar, which is the sister store to ProWrestlingTees.com.
Aha.
So we'll be having some pretty sick merch coming out here shortly.
Very cool. And you mentioned merch, and that made me immediately think that you didn't put over any albums. And I was thinking, there's a couple of bands that I like, and they don't have albums. They just have songs that they put up online. And that seems to be the way of things right now. But I'm still a tangible guy. I like to, escape into the office with the door closed and pop something in a player and play it. Is that something that you think you could ever see yourself doing soon, is putting out a full-length album?
Definitely. See, I'm the same way. I hate that we're just putting out singles. But in today's game of building fanship, you have to keep putting out, they'd say content, even though I hate that theory. I hate that word because, not all content's good. You want it to be good. But you have to keep putting out singles, whereas because I'm trying to build a fan base. So we recorded 10 songs. We did all the drums Kenny Schwartz did in a day, my drummer, which is incredible, at United in LA. And we were going to drop everything as an album, but the way it's working now, we have to do singles. We'll compile them after it's all said and done, and we'll do like a vinyl release of all the songs in the order that I imagined it in. And we're actually also talking about getting together later on the year and putting out a 6-song, just no fluff, the best songs that we haven't recorded, and just doing an album anyways, because screw it, I love albums too. Awesome. They're better than singles.
I agree, man. Well, I want to thank you for taking the time and doing this with us and saying hello to the wrestling fans. And I'm hoping that a lot of those wrestling fans like what they heard and check you out and find you and buy some stuff. Me
too. I'm a big fan of the wrestling community. I've been to 3-4 Manias, and as a wrestling fan myself, I'm honored to be on the side of it, Yeah, absolutely. It's got to be the best of both worlds, getting to see yourself on, TNT programming and pay-per-view. That's really awesome. It was sick. Being able to work with Cody, who I've been a fan with, is incredible. Darby Allin, up and coming. And being able to go backstage and meet Chris Jericho, like, the kid in me came out. It was stupid. I couldn't talk.
All right, man. Well, again, I thank you so much. Hey, before I let you go, do you mind if I ask for a station ID?
Sure.
Just say this is Ian Abel, and you're listening to the Wrestling Epicenter. And, of course, you can put whatever twist you want to put on there.
Okay. This is Ian Abel from the Ian Abel Band, and you are listening to Wrestling Epicenter.
The preceding announcement was paid for by the Wrestling Epicenter.
I'm to listen, and if you like what you heard, I'm glad. If you didn't like what you heard, well, go fuck yourself.
Most people done hung up on me.
We had a lovely conversation.
What a show.
Ooh, mercy, daddy.
On your radio dial.
Don't hang up. Bye-bye.